Would I be the a-hole if I take my nieces back to my sister's house? My 24 female sister 28 has 2 kids, 6 female and 4 female, and asked me if I could babysit them for the weekend, starting today, 3 days ago. I told her I couldn't. I was exhausted from work, and I really just wanted the time to myself and my boyfriend this weekend. She was mad, but I figured she'd get over it. Yesterday, she called me again to ask if I could babysit, and I told her that I could next weekend, and then she went on to explain that she wanted time to herself. I told her to ask our parents because they were tired and likely want to see them, but for whatever reason, she didn't want to. I said no again, that I was sorry, but I was able to do it next weekend. Today, I wake up to banging on my door, the doorbell ringing a few times, so I go see what the hell the problem is. It is my nieces, with backpacks just standing there. They're not particularly close to me because of the pandemic, so they look more confused than anything. I'm tired as hell. I feel like I'm in no shape to watch children for 3 days, let alone children that can barely do anything on their own. Not to mention my apartment isn't childproofed. The kids are eating a snack right now, and I feel beyond disrespected that my sister dropped her kids off at my place with no warning, completely ignored me telling her that I was tired. Furthermore, she was gone by the time I answered the door, and I'm mad that she left literal babies by themselves on my doorstep. I could have not been home. Then what? The complex I live in is across from a little strip mall within walking distance, so my car could be in the lot. But that doesn't mean I'm home. Would I be the a-hole if I drove them back to her house? I just feel like I'm not mentally prepared enough this week. Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Group text to her and your parents saying, I'm calling CPS if the kids are not picked up within the next 45 minutes. This is the best solution. Your sister abandoned her children. What if she dropped them off when you weren't home? It's the same thing. Exactly. I'm 20, and my mom will still wait for me to go in the door if she drops me off anywhere, just to make sure I'm safe. Not today, Hall. There was something seriously wrong with Opie's sister. What if Opie had decided to go out or even away for the weekend? Then there are 2 small children on their own with no idea what's going on and no way to look after themselves. Calling CPS is 100% in the realm of possibilities. Not today, Hall. However, I won't drive them back. I will call her and tell her to get herself back and pick up her kids. And if she's not here in an hour, you're calling the police. Also not going to babysit them next weekend or ever since she's so disrespectful. This, exactly. She abandoned her kids at your door? She didn't even know for sure you were home. Yeah, she has 1 hour to get them or the police are coming for them. And I would never babysit those kids as a favor for her ever. And now for the little update. I made a group chat with my parents and my sister and made a recap of the situation for my parents. I said that if she wasn't coming in the next 45 minutes, I'd be calling CPS. My sister was frantically begging me not to. But like I said, and many of y'all said, she left literal babies on my doorstep without even knowing if I was home or not. Then she goes on about how she needed a break and that she was desperate. At this point, the chat turned into a video chat, and I felt like I could hear the distress in her voice. So I do believe she's having some mental problems at the moment. She said she was coming to pick them up, and my parents interjected that they'd be happy to take the girls. My parents also suggested that the girls live with them for a while if my sister was actually in distress. I agree with that, and also said I'd help my sister find a counselor. So now I'm gathering the girls' stuff, giving them some orange slices, and we're on our way to my parents' house right now. Thank y'all for the suggestions. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister and her husband out upon discovering that she was making my niece hide used pads in my daughter's closet? My sister and her husband, daughter 14, my niece, and stepson 17, moved in with us a month ago. My husband and I have a 16-year-old daughter, and we live in a 4-bedroom house. My niece shares a room with my daughter while my step-nephew has a room. My daughter didn't mind sharing because she loves her cousin. They have a ton of stuff in common. It all started after my niece had her period days ago. My daughter was complaining about bad smell coming from her cousin's side of closet. She came to me to help her address this issue since she said she suspected her cousin hiding something with strong smell inside, but said she'd never snoop in her cousin's side of closet even if it originally belongs to her. I decided to look inside my niece's side of closet myself, after my sister brushed it off and didn't let me search. At the very bottom, I found a garbage bag with used pads inside. I'm not sure how many, but I was in shock and dismay. I was absolutely disgusted and very, very confused. I immediately brought this up to my sister. My sister's initial reaction was to yell that I had no permission to snoop through her teenage daughter's belongings. I reminded her the entire closet is my daughter's and told her to stop stalling and explain the deal with those used pads being stored inside a closet. She said she told her daughter to put her used pads in a garbage bag instead of tossing them in the guest bathroom that her stepson was using because her husband complained about his son not having to see the stuff. So she had her daughter keep the pads in the bag inside a closet throughout the day to take the bag out later at night. I couldn't believe it. I called her horrible to subject my niece and my daughter to bad smell and lack of hygiene just because her husband and stepson can't handle the stuff. I shamed her for her god-awful solution, and she apologized. But I told her to pack and leave after my brother-in-law said this was a family matter that I shouldn't get involved in. My sister pleaded to let it go, then called me cruel for kicking her family out. I said she should be talking to her husband and putting end to this controlling behavior, and that she was doing both her daughter and her stepson a disservice with how blindly she follows her husband's unreasonable demands. She could have told me about this, and I would have let my niece use the main bathroom. My sister's excuse was that my husband would have said no, but couldn't be further from the truth. He was shocked when I told him, but said kicking them out was an overreaction. My mom was upset too, saying the kids are innocent in this and have exams, so I should have waited till they finished. Now for the top comments. Not Dayhall. I think you should offer to continue to provide a home for your niece. Possibly your nephew if you feel so inclined, but I'm not sure how entrenched he is in his father's stupidity. Usually I'd say that you should have offered the opportunity to correct and do better, but your sister sort of threw that out the window. She refused to allow her daughter to ask to use another bathroom in the house. She is the cause of the smell, because she told her daughter to do it. She knew what the smell was, but told you to leave it alone. She got mad at you for not wanting every piece of clothing your daughter owns to smell nasty and investigating. She stood next to her husband, silent as he told you that shaming her 14-year-old daughter for having a healthy, functioning body is not your business, and to just leave it alone and let them continue to mistreat the child. Screw all that. Your sister doesn't want a solution. She wants you to turn a blind eye to the abuse of your niece in your home. You have no obligation to allow that mistreatment to continue under your roof. Yeah, I would really hate for the niece to get the impression from this incident that her bodily functions were so shameful that she lost her safe home. Because depending on how her mom and stepdad have explained it to her, the sequence of events might very well look like niece's period. Period is so disgusting she needs to hide the evidence far from any men in the family. Evidence is discovered. Niece didn't hide it well enough. Niece is so disgusting that they need to leave the home. This might sound absurd because obviously Opie's objection was the exact opposite of that. And she's totally on the side of the two teen girls here. But I don't trust the stepdad and mom here to not blame the niece for all this. Not Dayhall. This is justified if for nothing else than to dispose of this mentality. This was a family matter that I shouldn't get involved in. If they're using your house, then that means they respect the house on your terms. Mystery smells most definitely are your business. However, once you've made sure that they understand that, it's probably best to let them back in. It's one thing to assert dominance and teach them a lesson. It's a completely different thing to just give up and cut them off. Not Dayhall. That's freaking disgusting. It honestly is super alarming. Makes you really wonder what the hell is going on in their heads that would make that right. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for banning my picky eater brother-in-law from my house and telling him he's not welcome until I say he is? Backstory. My wife and I have been married for a year. I've known her and her brother, Jason male 20, for over a decade. They have a 10-year difference. For as long as I've known him, Jason has been a picky eater. His diet consists of fast food and junk food. Essentially at get-togethers, his parents have always gotten him special orders. We'd all be eating salads or some kind of meat, and he'd be eating a fried chicken sandwich. He also smokes cannabis oil. This isn't a problem for me, mostly because how he was raised isn't my problem, and also that I enjoy fast food on occasion and I smoke grass. Nothing wrong with that, and I've tried my best to teach Jason to smoke responsibly. However, there are two things that concern me. First, my in-laws are against smoking. His smoking's gone far. He throws tantrums when he can't smoke, and once got his father arrested due to his habit of running away when he got caught. The second is that Jason throws tantrums when he doesn't get what he wants. For example, recently my wife and I have her cousin and his wife over. Jason came too and asked us to get Buffalo Wild Wings. Jason's order came in wrong. He wanted boneless and got bone-in wings. He started yelling, refusing to sit down and eat, and generally being a brat, all because he didn't get the right food. We called it Buffalo Wild Wings, got a refund, and got him his boneless wings. But I warned him that while I don't care what he does at home, at my house we do things calmly. My wife and I have stressful jobs. Being more stressed on top of that isn't something we want. Beyond that, I was raised to eat what's at the table. Either find something you want or stay hungry. No one should cater to you unless you have dietary needs, allergies, kosher/halal/Hindu, etc. Things came to a head last week. I was in Austin with a group of friends, and my wife decided to host a Father's Day lunch for our families. Jason lost his grass pen and threw a tantrum the day he flew out. On Father's Day, people came over to our house. My folks, hers, my aunt and uncle, my cousin, and Jason. My folks got some Mediterranean takeout for the group. Jason refused to eat it and demanded Pizza Hut. All the Pizza Huts were closed, and he refused anything else, with things escalating to pouting, yelling, and screaming, until finally my in-laws apologized and left with him. I found this out while preparing for a night out, with my stressed wife crying to me over the phone that her parents had left embarrassed in front of my family. I texted Jason immediately and told him I'd warned him before and he's no longer welcome in my home until he learns to behave. My wife and mother-in-law agree with me, for now. I've so far been told I may be the a-hole by my parents, who think I might alienate myself from my in-laws. My dad's reasoning is that they'll all forgive him, but won't forgive me if I stand my ground and not let him come over. So Reddit, am I the a-hole or do you agree with my folks? Now for the comments. Oh, hell no. I was fully prepared to say you're the a-hole, but your title is wrong. You're not banning him from being a picky eater. You're banning him because he acts like a 2-year-old. Not an a-hole. This picky eater has nothing to do with it. What he chooses to eat would be a terrible reason to ban him by itself. His behavior is unacceptable though, and you are not at all obligated to deal with it in your own home. Not an a-hole. Yeah, this isn't about being a picky eater. It's about behaving like a toddler. He's old enough that he can pick up food for himself if he's heading to Opie's house. I only suggest this because they're family, and casual enough it can be seen as a solution, not an issue. I wouldn't suggest taking your own junk food just anywhere, but in this situation, if he wants it that badly, he can provide it. Not an a-hole. The problem isn't that he's a picky eater, it's that he's an a-hole. He is far too old to be acting like a toddler. I wouldn't let him in my house either. My dad's reasoning is that they'll all forgive him, but won't forgive me if I stand my ground and not let him come over. So Reddit, am I the a-hole or do you agree with my folks? This begs the question of why. Why would they repeatedly forgive him but hold you to a high standard? Because they have catered to this behavior for 20 years and created this monster, while you are a seemingly functioning adult with a spouse, job, and home? I notice you don't mention brother-in-law having a job, and I'm very curious in how the heck he got his dad arrested during a tantrum. Behavior like this doesn't just correct itself overnight, it only escalates. How long will it be until he gets violent with someone, or decides to start smashing your things because he can't smoke up? What he needs are firm rules and a therapist. Not to mention his parents sound like they could use a break from him, where they can sit and have a nice dinner without needing to bust out a kid menu for their adult child. No, brother-in-law's in college, and he does have a part-time job. As for how he got his dad arrested, he invented charges, went to the cops hoping to threaten my father-in-law with arrest, and instead ended up getting my father-in-law arrested when he got scared because the cop leading the team told him he'd be screwed if he wound up wasting his time. Charges were dropped a few hours later, but he then threw another tantrum a couple of days later, and my wife called 911 on him. This led to him being hospitalized for a few weeks in a mental health facility. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not taking down my drawings, even though they disturb my niece who's living with us? So I, 18, have been cataloging my dreams for a while, but it was only at the beginning of 2020 that I started to draw them. Now, I don't want to be too edgy, but I've been through some crap as a kid, and it had definitely influenced my dreams. As a result, some of my drawings are creepy. Most of them are just odd dream things, but there are some sinister/creepy drawings there. Anyway, my niece, 17, started living with us at the beginning of June. She's been sharing my room with me, and she hates my drawings. She says they're gross and creepy and that she doesn't like them at all. She asked me when she first moved in if I could take them down, but I said no. Now, 27 days later, she's been complaining to my mom about them because my mom asked me if I would take them down. I said no again. I reminded my mom that niece is simply bunking with me, and whilst she's welcome, she, niece, has no authority over what I do to my room. My mom pulled the "you're an adult" card, and whilst that's true, I turned 18 in February and would not class myself as an actual adult yet. Now niece is super upset and keeps going on and on about safe spaces and how I'm a terrible person. Am I the a-hole? Also, niece was originally meant to stay in the spare room, but she didn't like it, so asked to bunk with me. I said yes because I like her and I didn't think it would cause these issues. I also pay rent for my room. Not the a-hole because 1, you're paying rent for your room, but you still have to share it. 2, there is a spare room but niece doesn't like it. This situation is ridiculous. If you're paying rent for your room but she's in there with you, then either you should pay less or she should start paying. Also, if she doesn't like your room or what's in it, she can drag her butt to the spare room. At this point, I think it would be reasonable to insist she stay in the spare room regardless of what she wants. After reading the OP's responses, not the hell. She chose to bunk with you instead of in the spare room. If she doesn't like it, there is a whole empty room she could move to. Also, you pay rent. So were you okay with this arrangement, or did your mom allow it against your wishes? That's not fair. You pay rent? Make her use the spare room. What on earth are her reasons for wanting to be in your room when she doesn't like the drawings or the wallpaper, etc.? Not the hell. Since you pay rent, why do you share your room? That should cut your rent in half. You might consider moving out and renting somewhere else. I'm moving out in September for uni. Niece was actually meant to be in the spare room, but she didn't like it, so asked to bunk with me. I said yes, thinking it wouldn't cause this issue.